Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome once again to Changing the Questions, the show where we take a single question each episode and dissect it thoroughly. And my name is Paul Laporte. Joining me after a fairly long hiatus is my co-host Mike Miner.
What's going on, guys?
And we are going to get very topical with this episode, our return episode of Changing the Questions, and we are going to ask if Roman Reigns' suspension was sufficient and could WWE have handled it better. Now, unless you have been living under a rock for the past 24 hours, you will know that Roman Reigns was suspended for a wellness policy violation for 30 days. This is nothing new. The first time you violate the wellness policy, you get a 30-day suspension. However, there is a little bit of controversy going around because apparently WWE knew about his violation prior to Money in the Bank and still let him go through the Money in the Bank main event and appear on Monday Night Raw and then announced it on Tuesday. Do you think that that was a good thing to do, Miner, or do you think that they should have handled that differently?
Well, as far as him getting popped and then immediately suspended, it would have been a bad idea as far as their programming goes because they worked so hard to building up this event between Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and then the backstory with Dean Ambrose winning the Money in the Bank. It would have been a bad deal if they took Roman off TV immediately, especially since there's been past instances where performers such as Randy Orton he was suspended at one point in mid-2006, around August. He was suspended from house shows for a 30-day period from mid-August to mid-September. So they have gone and done similar situations, if not more extensive as far as protecting a character on television, but the punishment is the same. You still get that one suspension on your belt, and Randy Orton was able to stay on the road and on television. Roman Reigns, he got to stay on television 2 more days, but when they had the chance, they took him off. So what are you going to do? If it was somebody that wasn't near the top of the card, they were going to leave him off TV. It's easier to explain that. But as far as a main event performer, he put them in a hell of a position if he did not know what he was doing or what he was getting into. And if he did, he completely ruined this for himself. So
I feel like 50-50 on this whole thing. I don't think that they should have canceled the main event of Battleground. I mean, I guess you could have had the built-in thing of saying, Roman Reigns couldn't make it and then Seth to celebrate. No, because Roman was the champ. If Roman wasn't the champ, if he was challenging, you could have almost made that work where Dean cashed in and took his place. But he's the champ. It just doesn't work out right. And I don't think anyone wanted to see the main event of a pay-per-view ruined just for this. However, I don't necessarily think they should have put him on Raw the next night, and I don't know if they should have planned for the Shield triple threat at Battleground if they knew that the guy wasn't going to be around to promote it for 30 days. I don't know if WWE should have done that. So clearly WWE still has him in their main event plans, regardless of this suspension, of this violation, which people were wondering, like, oh, is this going to, Roman Reigns' push is going to be over after this. He made the company look bad. It's like, well, no, they booked him in a main event after he tested positive for the wellness violation. So I don't know if this is going to really hurt his stature or not.
Well, I mean, they've taken guys like CM Punk in the past, who was a world champion, and they've done angles like Randy Orton once again. He has done a punt to CM Punk's head, and then Punk had to vacate that championship, all within the context of a storyline. As far as I know, CM Punk has not been busted with a wellness violation, and if he was, I'd be quite surprised. But as far as this situation, they could have done something similar, but I think the return on what they did, as far as Sunday's Money in the Bank show goes, I think they took the right turn with that as far as the story. As far as them adhering staunchly and firm to the wellness violation policy, they really didn't adhere to it as hard as they have done in the past with most performers. But
normally if you test positive, you get pulled immediately, and then you're out for 30 days. Like I said, the fact that they built everything around the guy, like you can call it favoritism, and maybe you're not wrong, but I think it's really more not throwing away a whole lot of money, and I feel like whoever was in a main event spot would probably have gotten the same treatment. It's not just Roman Reigns being their golden boy or whatever. And that's another thing about the timing of this, is that this is the first real big time suspension. I mean, I guess you had Adam Rose and Victor, but this is the first real big time suspension since the Titus O'Neil incident, where he was suspended for 60 days for touching Vince McMahon when he wasn't supposed to touch Vince McMahon. Yeah. A lot of people are complaining about favoritism, that Roman's suspension was only for 30 days and Titus O'Neil's was for 60 days and whatnot.
And it wasn't even drug related. And it was initially 90 days.
It was initially he was going to be fired, and then it was dropped to 90 days, and then it was dropped to 60 days.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. What do you think about that? Do you think that WWE is showing favoritism towards Roman Reigns here, or do you think that this is just kind of the way things normally work?
My connection cut out for a second.
Do you think that this is the way that do you think that this is WWE showing favoritism towards Roman Reigns, or do you think this is just the way things normally work?
No, I just think that with the situation that they were in, it just played out the way it did because they needed to get this cleaned up and swept under the rug. I can't even speak. They needed to get this whole situation put together and cleaned up, and then swept under the rug, and that's it. That's what they had to do with the story. Roman Reigns lost on Sunday in the story. He wound up going onto Raw the next night, which is something he did not need to do. But they had him there, and that was it. And then they said, well, he was suspended, and for popping a drug violation, so popping a test.
So here's the thing. I think if you want to argue that Titus O'Neil's suspension was unfair, if you want to argue that there was some sort of systemic racism in WWE, those are arguments you can make. Those are arguments we've made here on this site.
There is no doubt that Titus O'Neil's suspension was way overblown, vastly overblown. It was crazy.
Yeah, the punishment, you mean?
My God,
the punishment for the crime. Yeah, definitely a very heavy punishment considering what he had done. So you could certainly make those arguments, but as far as if you want to make an argument, and I've heard people try and make the argument that Roman Reigns is getting favoritism over like a guy like Titus O'Neil. I don't necessarily believe that, because that's just the way that their wellness policy works.
They were different situations.
Right, they're different punishments. If Titus O'Neil had popped a wellness policy violation and then he was suspended 60 days, or he was fired, or he was suspended 90 days, different thing. Then you could certainly argue that. But Roman Reigns popping the wellness violation, that's what happens. That's been proven from Adam Rose to Randy Orton and everyone in between. The first one's 30, the second one's 60, the third you're gone.
Look at the 11
third mark.
Yeah, look at the 11 talents back in 2007. Remember that whole big situation where there was 11 guys that were popped on drug violations or going to see the doctor.
Yeah, the steroid guy, basically.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. It was.
Rey Mysterio was one.
Santino. Man, I wish I had the list in front of me, but there was an extensive list of talent that was actually busted.
Like I said, Rey Mysterio was one. I think Orton was one.
Edge, I think Edge was out anyway. He was injured.
Edge was already, I think he was already retired at that point, or he was.
No, 2007. No, that was way back.
Oh no! I thought that was like 2011 for some reason.
Oh, that was about 9 years ago, and
Jesus, time flies.
As far as I know, he was injured at the time. But yeah, Santino, Rey Mysterio, just a lot of talent that was actually busted at the same time, and just a big mess. But it doesn't seem like it was as big as a mess as this kind of got to be, as crazy as that sounds. This is their main guy. This was their champion on Sunday.
Yes.
He probably got popped maybe over the weekend, maybe the week before. Who knows? Point is, he got popped on a drug violation, and he was their champion. And
now, do you think that him popping the wellness violation was was the cause of him losing the title, or do you think that that was the plan all along? Because I had some discussions with some friends about this, and I wanted to see what you thought.
Honestly, I don't know. I want to say that it wasn't really a motivating factor, but as far as I think they had a decision down to Seth Rollins possibly winning it back and then going through the same story that they did. But if they were going to change their mind and go another route, because you know how they work, they go and they, on a whim sometimes. They have one plan on Sunday, or they have one plan Friday, another one Saturday, and then they have another one Sunday. As far as their plan with this situation goes, they could have changed their mind. And then they said, well, no, we're going to run with what we had before because Roman got busted. So I think that may have happened. I mean, that's just, suspicion on my part. That's just me.
I will admit I was surprised that he lost the match clean.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was going to happen. So that may have had something to do with that. That's possible. Like that, the fact that Seth beat him clean as a whistle, really no interference, no nothing, no cheating. That may have had something to do with it. Was Seth planning, or were they planning on putting it on Seth all along? I don't know, because that just seems like kind of a fast story for WWE. Like, he comes back, and then 3 weeks later, he's got the belt again. Like, WWE likes to do that chase a little bit more, although generally more with faces than with heels. So I don't know.
I just think that the way it worked out seemed logical at the time, and that's what I was hoping happened, is Roman held it, lost, Seth Rollins redeems himself, and proves that he's not, he's not basically the guy that's in the authority that's being pushed because they handpicked him and he wasn't capable. He showed how capable he was. He proved everybody wrong, and then out comes Ambrose to, take the rug out from underneath his feet. So as far as that story goes, it worked very well.
Yeah, it all went off just fine.
Yeah, I thought it went perfectly.
I don't hear a lot of people making complaints about it.
Well, I mean, think about it this way. I mean, if it went the way it did, and you knew that Roman was suspended or he was on the verge of suspension, you would have been like, okay, it makes sense. But as the way that it played out, you had no idea. You just figured that the story wound up turning out this way because that's the way they planned it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, now in hindsight, you go, well, it makes sense now.
Yes.
But without that suspension, it would have made sense. So I think that they probably wanted to go this route, but the suspension that they knew was coming, it just kind of worked out that way, and then I guess the story was better for it, as crazy as that sounds.
And I guess we'll kind of wrap this up with something we touched on a little bit earlier, but do you think that this is going to affect Roman Reigns' push and his status within the company going forward? Is he still going to be their guy, or is the role going to be kind of diminished because Roman's going to miss the brand split?
He is going to have to. I mean, I can see them still. They're still going to push this guy. Mm-hmm. They've gone through pushes with Randy Orton, but I don't know. It just seems to be a different beast as far as Randy Orton goes. Roman Reigns has tried to find traction with the audience, and it's tough. It's tough for him in particular. I don't know why. The guy is very capable in the ring. A lot of people blame his personality, but there was a lot of wrestlers with less of a personality than Roman Reigns had, and everybody was touting them for their skills in the ring. And I don't know. I just think it's going to be kind of an uphill climb for him to get back to the position that he was in, especially given the fact that he was poised to come out of last year's WrestleMania with the championship, but it went to Seth Rollins.
Right.
I don't know. He had an uphill battle there. He's got an uphill battle here again. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, it reminds me of the Rob Van Dam situation back in 2006, 2007, where he won the championship. He won the ECW/WWE championships, yeah. and he wound up.
It was like a month later.
3 weeks.
Yep.
3 weeks he lost that championship. And he worked so hard to get to that point, and then they had a reason to say, well, now we know he's not reliable.
Yeah, and he was never pushed to that level again.
Which is unfortunate. And I can't say that it's going to be the same for Roman Reigns, but it feels very familiar. And, well, I just hope that he's able to get back into that position. And as far as his status goes, he's letting a lot of people down with what happened. He accepted responsibility, but that doesn't change the fact that he let a lot of people down. That goes for management. That goes for the guys that supported him in the company. That goes for the audience. But he does have a lot of support. I support him. I know there's a lot of fans that support him. He made a bad choice. People make mistakes. He's going to come back from this, and I think he will be just as strong, if not stronger, but it's going to take some kind of finagling to get him to that point again, whether that's making him heel because of this.
I think I was going to say, I think that this is the perfect opportunity to turn him heel.
Like I said, he let people down as far as this goes, and they can play into that, and they can go from there.
That the pressures of trying to satisfy everybody just got to be too much. And now he's just going to really only worry about himself and be a bastard and then let people do the shit out of him. And then that would be, like I said, we've talked ad nauseum at this site about getting Reigns into that heel character is going to be better for him overall than just continuing to try and force feed the face character. Let the fans boo him until they want to cheer him, and then he'll be as over as ever, if not significantly more so. So this... It's definitely bad timing, and there's never a good time for this. Yeah. However,
especially at the top of the card,
they're fortunate that they have two very talented guys to fall back on in Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. They offer some different things than Roman Reigns does. So they're better in certain things. They're not as good in other things. But overall, those two feuding, and with Roman sprinkled in once he gets back from his vacation, then that will it's going to hold the company up, and they're going to still be in a good position after that.
The grand scheme of things, a month is a month, and that's a drop in the bucket as far as the history of this company goes. So they'll make it through.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Changing the Questions. We hope you enjoyed. If you do, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this video. If you are listening to this on iTunes, be sure to give us a 5-star, say a nice few things about us. Also, be sure to check out our website. That is changingtheqs.com, www.changingtheqs.com. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter. Same thing, at @ChangingTheQs. That's at @ChangingTheQS, where you'll get notifications about everything that goes on at our website and our YouTube channel. If you want to like us on Facebook, you can just search for Changing the Questions there. And if you want to send us a good old-fashioned email, you can do that at changingthequestions@gmail.com. That's going to do it for my partner, Mike Miner.
Thank you.
My name is Paul Laporte. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.